And now, it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my...
Curry, jab, triple, he sticks it!
Steph say calm down, everybody.
Curry, step back, pump, Curry, ridiculous!
That's unfair.
Steph Curry, kicked, Curry, again? You already know! Curry, dancing on Batum, over the double team. Oh! It's a golden dagger!
The man who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand...
Wow, Christian.
next to you.
Well started, I guess, because... All right, it's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Steph Curry. Great moment in the gold medal game. I'm kind of glad that this is where we're going to start.
Okay.
Because I am, and I know this will shock you, kind of grumpy about a lot of different things regarding to the Olympics.
Okay.
And maybe it's because my wife was sick all weekend, and so, that puts a damper on things. First of all, anybody saying that this is the greatest moment of Steph Curry's career needs to step back and punch themselves right in the face.
Okay, interesting, because this is a conversation that's being had in the basketball world right now.
And it's so annoying and so just, where you think that whatever is happening to you right now is the greatest thing that has ever happened in the entire world, or the most dramatic thing, or the most bad thing, or whatever.
A little short-sighted, perhaps?
To come out and say, okay, a top 10 player of all time who's won all these championships playing against actual teams, and somehow that this is the crowning moment of his career is laughable. I mean, Carlos Boozer has a gold medal.
Right. No, that's the name I was going to bring up.
To Carlos Boozer, but there's been a lot of slappies on Olympic teams that are not in the same stratosphere.
Christian Laettner has a gold medal.
Right.
Yeah. No, you brought up 2 points.
Ludicrous. And real quick, Carl Eagle is whatever his name is awful.
Oh, you don't like Ian?
Oh, he's so bad. Listen to that.
Those weren't awesome.
You think it was Miracle on Ice. Gal, Al Michaels, when that actually happened, didn't get that worked up. Gal, it's just
I agree with you. I didn't think those calls were good.
Ian, stay in France. Is that his name? No, that's the old man.
Oh. Noah Eagle. Ian's the old man. Noah's the young
Bernard
guy.
Eagle. Stay in Paris.
I think he's the next very good broadcaster, if not great broadcaster.
No, you don't.
But I didn't think I do. And he's going to be handed the crown. I didn't think that was his best moment. I didn't think he quite nailed it. And I actually did think the excitement was there, because if you watch the game live, it was absurd what Steph was doing. That was certainly the best Olympic basketball moment in U.S. history.
Oh, not you too, Ben. Come on.
What's better? What do you remember more?
I don't
Pick
care.
a moment. Pick a moment. You can't find one. The truth is you can't find one. That is the best or the most memorable moment that Team USA has provided. Certainly in my lifetime. And I've watched every Olympics since 1992.
How about Jordan standing on the podium with the American flag over his head?
Fine.
You know
We're talking about in-game. I'm not talking about imagery. I'm talking about in-game. Steph hitting 4 threes in the last 2 minutes of a game that they needed was unreal. And it was pure Steph. And for him to channel that super natural ability that he has that nobody else on the planet has ever had was special. But to your point, where I agree with you is that where do we rate gold medals in players' career, especially Americans? Basically not at all. We do with international players quite a bit. Manu Ginobili, Rudy Gobert having 2 silver medals is certainly a feather in the cap of his Hall of Fame induction, and will be when he gets there in a couple of years. We don't care for American players, and I don't care for Steph. His 4 titles. We care about way more than any gold medal he's ever had. And in fact, I didn't know to this point that he didn't have a gold medal until this year. I had just assumed he had played for the Olympic team before, and he hadn't. So I don't care. Gold medals for players' careers actually don't seem to mean that much. Unless you don't have a title, and then we're trying to crown you like Carmelo Anthony.
Okay. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah, I don't.
Because nobody says, oh, John and Carl didn't win an NBA title, but they do have 2 gold medals.
Yeah, nobody
cares.
No.
So I wouldn't throw that on Steph either. Not the best moment of his career.
Crowning moment of his entire career. No, it wasn't.
Nope.
And then the other thing that I'm grumpy about, Ben, listen, I have watched my fair share of closing ceremonies in the Olympics. I get it that they're artsy. Mm-hmm. I was prepared for them to be artsy. Like the Beijing Olympics closing ceremony was artsy. The Olympics here in 2002 was artsy. They're not wheeling out Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir in his butterfly hairdo because we somehow expect something other than artsy. But something has to happen. That was 3 hours of nothing happening. I was so frustrated because my daughter was using it as an excuse to stay up.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, well, this feels like it's going somewhere, so we'll hang out here for a second, and then we're going to go to bed. And then a half hour passed, and nothing happened. And then I forced her to go to bed. I came back upstairs. I was like, okay, something's eventually going to happen. It can't just be this gold moron dancing around the whole time. Something has got to happen. And then my wife was forcing us to watch it until Tom Cruise, because she knew he was going to
show up,
do his thing.
And she's like, I
want to see this. And I thought to myself, why would you possibly want to see this? Who cares? And because at this point, I'm extraordinarily irritated. But listen, don't put out nothing and then say, well, it's artsy. No, that was okay. A waste of time.
I think there's fair art criticism there.
An absolute waste of time. Something has to. Even the athletes walking in was boring, like more boring than it usually is, and it's usually really boring.
So, my experience, I didn't watch it. So I'm coming in a little blind to this. The part I did watch was a little bit last night at like 7:30.
Don't waste your time.
I was doing laundry, and I saw the gold guy dancing around, and I assumed, oh, that was 5 or 6 minutes because I heard how they introduced it, and it was, you're right, it was a little avant-garde. They were saying it was a, post-apocalyptic warrior rediscovering the Olympics and bringing it back to the world.
Because some French dead guy did that with the Olympics. Originally resurrected it from. So they did this stupid, post-apocalyptic reenactment.
Conceptually, I'm on board. I get the idea. I don't know that story. That's a good way to tell history. But it sounds like I didn't just get lucky that I caught that part for 5 minutes. It sounds like that was an extended feature within the closing ceremony.
It was the talented Mr. Ripley. Like, you just sit there forever and you wait for something to happen. You're like, something has to happen. And then to culminate it with Tom Cruise rappelling, who looks more plastic than Bob Costas.
He does. He's jumped the shark a little bit.
It's rough.
It is.
I was embarrassed for him.
It is.
And then to do then some panned, headed on over to Flea, who's still not wearing a shirt, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers sounding bad. And it was like, even my wife at that point was like, all right. We're turning it off.
NCIS is on or something.
Yeah, right. We watched a little bit of Billie.
How was Billie?
Eyelash. I don't know.
I didn't catch her.
She was fine.
You know what?
You know what? I'm fascinated with this. The 90s are totally back thing. And the 90s are totally back. I looked at her and I thought, you know what? Somebody would have worn that outfit into geometry at Skyline High School in 1990.
Yeah, she's kind of she's kind of the flag bearer for that look being back.
Like right down to the boots.
Super
It's
baggy
like,
jeans, big boots. Yeah.
I knew you.
Yeah.
And so I'm just fascinated. And you know what her backup guitar player was wearing? Baggy cargo pants.
Yeah.
Just never get rid of your clothes.
Yeah, just hold on your clothes. They're vintage now.
Just never get rid of it. Just wear the same thing
thousands.
forever. Like you're gonna go in and out. But is it really worth it?
So I missed the closing ceremonies, which by all accounts were a bit of a whiff.
It was so boring.
Everyone I know who people were there said
So
it was boring.
boring.
Yeah, people watching on TV said it was boring. I will say otherwise, I really firmly believe this was the best Olympics of my life. This was the most engaged I've ever been. I thought it had the most magical moments, maybe outside of, I thought swimming was a bit of a dud for USA, but I'm partial to track and field, and Team USA dominated track and field this year with 15 golds. I don't think any other team even got 12 medals, and Team USA had 15 golds. The women's soccer team, not coming out of nowhere. There's expectations always to at least medal, but winning the gold wasn't expected. I thought the basketball games were much better, including the women's game yesterday was really fun. I thought some of the international stars were cool. The Swedish pole vaulter, Mondo, was cool. I thought the Turkish air shooter was a good meme. I just thought it was a really rich Olympics. I thought it provided a lot. I thought Noah Lyles winning the 100 was maybe the best moment. The women's 4x100 was awesome with Sha'Carri Richardson winning at the end. I really have fond memories of this Olympics, and I don't know if I've said that a lot.
Well, yeah, all those things may or may not be true. Well, are true, but Johnny Weir still chose to make jokes about the well-endowed pole vaulter, which I thought was inappropriate at best on the closing ceremony.
Well, they certainly towed the line in Paris with American norms.
I don't think it was all that cool that people refused to do. Could you imagine working your whole life to get to an Olympics as a triathlete and then being like, I'm not getting in that water.
I can't get in that water. For my
like
safety.
People are sick over here. They have botulism or something.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't doing it. I don't care if, like, oh, it only happens when the rain run off. Like, that doesn't
make it better.
No, it doesn't.
Those are flaws. And you know what? Maybe I'll call them, it adds character.
The weird breakdancing chick was weird.
The breakdancing thing was funny. I don't know if we should keep breakdancing
was
around
she
for the
a
next
performative artist? Is that what eventually settled out of that?
No, it was one of these weird situations where X amount of people qualify, and if you win your country's or you're in your country's top X, you make it. And she's like a 37-year-old teacher, right, who is in Australia.
Who just stole money from the Australian government.
Around on the floor and became an international superstar overnight.
No, there is something else going on.
Goofing around. Going out there and goofing around.
Like, she actually is a breakdancer, but, like, was making a political statement or something.
That's got to be a little offensive if you are a true, dyed-in-the-wool, dedicated your life to breakdancing.
It's totally offensive.
And, like, somebody shows up and is like, I got my spot. I'm here making a fool of myself.
Listen, I understand. I went to ski events when the Olympics was here. Like, a big part of the field, you only see the top 2 or 3 competitors on TV. A big part of the field is your skier from Ecuador who may or may not make it to the bottom of the course. I understand that there's a wide variety of skill sets because you just have to qualify for your country, as you point out. But that wasn't even breakdancing. That would be like showing up on top of the ski hill in a sled.
Yeah, right. I'm doing something different. I'm going to try something else.
That would be like Christian just going over there and doing it. There is no way that person went through any sort of qualifying with that routine.
It's the only person who signed up for the election.
I have seen cool runnings. I know you have to hit a specific time to even qualify for the Olympics, let alone the final round. What, did they only do one heat? What is this sport? That wasn't real, though.
I might, and I've battled this with my own personal skateboarding experience, but I'm on board with Olympic skateboarding of where do you leave art, which dance is art, and go into competition. And skateboarding really toes the line of what is it? Is it a competition or is it an art form? And breakdancing is far more in the art form environment to me than competition. And I get there are breakdancing battles, et cetera, but it's like, how are you grading this?
Yeah, well,
I get it.
Figure skating.
I get it's far more difficult to do, but at least in figure skating, they're like, you have to do a triple axel, you have to do a quad, you know what I mean? Like, you have to do these different things, and they are graded differently. It doesn't seem like Ray Gunn, the 37-year-old Australian breakdancing part-time teacher, was checking the boxes of what's required to medal.
Well, what you're complaining about right now is why a lot of people, and I think it's more than you'd think, will not watch judged sports because there's too much room for shenanigans.
Okay.
Or at least, or if you don't want to say shenanigans, say dumb people, like dim bulbs, like we were talking about the other day. Like, have you ever truly watched a boxing match that comes down to a decision? Every time there's somebody who had to be taking a leak during the whole match that is like, oh, I'm back. Oh, well, I think that guy won.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've seen I'm not a huge boxing connoisseur, but I know a one-sided match when I see one. You know what I mean? Like, one guy is just pummeling the other guy the whole thing. And there's always one judge that is like, no, actually, the puffy face over there actually won. And so that person doing that is either doing that because they're on the take or because they're just extremely dumb. The French judge that rigged it for the Russians. Mm-hmm. Like, it's too easy to do that.
It is.
We know about that one. How many others out there? My wife was obsessing about the story yesterday. The bronze medal that's
Jordan
getting
Childs
taken away because
is losing her bronze medal.
They appealed 4 seconds too late or something stupid.
So, the woman who finished in fourth on the floor routine.
Yes, it was the floor
in the Olympics. Was misjudged, to your point, of the judges didn't recognize that one of the features that the woman did in fourth was actually deserved to be graded higher, which does go back a little bit to my conversation of ice skating where you have to hit, a triple axel or whatever, and they have certain scores that come with it, and if you land it, you get X amount of points. That they misjudged something she did and said her routine was only worth like 16.6 total, and actually it was worth 16.7, and so she should have gotten another thousandth of a point or hundredth of a point or whatever. And they went back and watched hers and upgraded it, and then Jordan Childs was late filing her grievance by, less than a minute, and lost her bronze medal as a result.
This is all very dumb. This is why people are frustrated.
Hey,
it's all very
Nathan
dumb.
Chen got a gold medal at this Olympics. He's an ice skater from Hawthorne Elementary School right there on 7th East and 17th South. Because they went back and realized that the Russian team was doping throughout the Winter Olympics 2 years ago, so they re-awarded him this year. Yeah, there was a lot of those.
Right.
Those weird things going on at the Olympics.
But no, I mean, think of like these judges. Think of something an extreme amount about. And then think if you were judging something like that for people that know nothing about what they're watching. What percentage of the audience watching gymnastics actually understands what they're looking at? A fraction.
Less than 1%. Easily with how many people are watching it for the only time every 4 years that they watch it. Myself included.
So you can buffalo anyone you want. You're never going to be held accountable for it unless you're blatant about it, which I think was the problem with the French judge, right?
That they realized that was so far off. So out of nowhere. Yes, you're exactly right.
The Olympics are such a dog and pony show.
It by definition it is, yeah, right?
And I'm really torn on it because I do like it, because I do like sports and I do like the competitive nature of it. But it's the other side of things that I really don't. Have you heard people make that argument? And I don't even know if I buy into this, but all you're doing is platforming governments that we really should be ignoring. Does that make any sense?
Sure, it's an entire worldwide sports washing.
Right, like North Korea can have. Didn't they have a medalist in table tennis or something like that? Like,
there was some controversy with North Korea over the weekend. Yeah, if you missed the person who showed up to the Olympics dressed as Kim Jong-un.
Oh, that
Not from North Korea. They were protesting North Korea essentially being there. But yes, it was. Yes, we let everyone in, other than Russia.
I thought one of the great moments was Brittany Griner getting emotional
Absolutely.
during the national anthem, and then her comments after were really great. That was a very memorable thing. The country that was imprisoning her for no reason hosted the Olympics 10 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
I'm
with you.
And
it's
then
sports washing.
And then that sleazeball, the Bach or whatever the head of the Olympic Committee is like, dude, you put Olympics in Rio when they had no business going anywhere near Rio. They've got way bigger problems than funding an Olympics, but for whatever reason, hey, Rio, they put it in Beijing twice.
Yeah, it makes a country look good regardless of what's happening in its surroundings.
Right.
I don't think that's going on in Paris necessarily. I'm glad we're getting in here in Salt Lake City. LA's good in 4 years.
I've always had this opinion that they should pick 4 venues and just rotate them between those. Because really, most countries, if you don't have the infrastructure, have no business building the infrastructure to host a 2-week event.
And it
doesn't make any sense.
It's not the launching point you would think it would be. It does not start the growth in your environment most places, even though people will look at it and say, look, that's exactly what it did for Salt Lake City. We were on an upward trajectory. The Olympics came through as we were growing.
Why did Salt Lake initially get onto the scene to possibly host the Winter Olympics in the first place? Because the U.S. ski team was here.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
The infrastructure was here. The beginnings of it were here. It made a lot of sense. There's a reason the U.S. ski team was here in the first place. So, I don't know. I'm torn on that sort of thing. But no, France is fine. In fact, 3rd time France has hosted the Summer Olympics. Makes a lot of sense. Have something to do with the origin story. All the things.
Yeah.
Didn't Draymond Green and Steph's wife get arrested or something?
Oh, did they?
Did you see that? Or they at the very least got hassled by, well, I guess in Mexico it's the federales. What do they call it in France? What's what do they call cops in France? Christian, are you Googling now? I probably should read these stories before I bring these things up.
Involved in tense confrontation with French police, but I don't see a name for the French police. What are police called in France? The municipal.
Like the munis?
Yeah, the munis.
Tensions were high with the cops? And Draymond Green was involved?
Would you believe? As long as he didn't put anybody in a headlock.
Man, every room that guy walks into, tensions are high.
Yeah. He brings it with him.
It's kind of like every time Lloyd walks in.
Yeah, right.
It's like the tension level goes from 1 or 2 to 15. You're really dialed into this thing.
Well, I hadn't heard the story.
I know.
You just mentioned it.
We should probably look it up. Top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake, Scott, Ben Anderson. Time for the top 3 stories of the day, KSLSports.com. Brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. 2 locations, one on Winchester Street across from Fashion Place Mall, the other at Traverse Mountain in Lehigh. I know playing shirtless is Flea's thing. I get it. But do you hit an age where you got to put that shirt back on? Or is it like Bret Michaels where he can never cut his hair?
As long as he's wearing more than just the sock, which was his thing for a bit, and sometimes not even the sock, I'm happy. As long as he's got pants on or shorts, he likes the tall socks and the Chuck Taylors. I'm cool with Flea.
I'm just telling you, as I get older, I realize this too more and more. Just old guys don't look good without their shirt.
No, we don't.
We just don't.
And by old guys, you mean like anything after 36.
That's when it starts to.
So, Christian, you're creeping up.
That's when it starts to go
Enjoy
down.
your shirtless time.
Yeah.
Mine's behind me. I realized that at the beach.
Yeah.
I've got a rash guard. I'm going to wear it forever.
Now, see, I'm not ashamed to let it all hang out. I mean, I'm not going to put my shirt on by any means. But I realize I'm not doing it to put on a show anymore.
You're not wowing anybody.
No, and I don't think Flea wowed anybody yesterday.
No.
All right, Christian, where are we starting today?
Number one, the Jazz announced multiple signings over the weekend.
3 signings for the Utah Jazz. 2 we expected. We knew they had come to terms with Drew Eubanks. He was signed Saturday. Today, the Jazz have signed second-round draft pick Kyle Filipowski. What we did not know, but kind of an interesting signing for the Jazz, Svi Mykhailiuk is joining the Utah Jazz as well. Former Kansas wing, been in the NBA for 6 seasons now. Pretty good shooter, big body, and I would expect him to play right away. All of these guys, with the exception of Filipowski, we don't know what his deal is, but the details of Drew Eubanks' deal came out. Mykhailiuk's was reported by Tony Jones. They're all one-year deals with non-guaranteed after that.
Is Filipowski a clutch guy? Is he pulling the I want a guaranteed deal or I ain't showing?
I don't think so.
I want to know what they're splitting hairs over.
Oh, he's signed now. He is
I know,
signed,
but
we just don't know
what the holdup was. That's what I want to know.
Oh, I think the Jazz were just trying to save all their money until after they signed Lowry. And he was the lowest priority because they have a slotted thing in the second-round draft pick that you use to sign your players. It's just not predetermined, but you have a second-round draft pick slot when you own a pick. So I'm not sure.
I more enjoy fantasizing about the, like, oh, fine, dude, we'll put Nathan's all beef hot dogs in the practice facility. Golly. We have a chef for this sort of thing, but if you're going to be a pain in the butt about it, then here you go.
You get the aux cord on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
You can choose the music on Tuesdays.
God, just sign.
Sign the paper.
No, and you know what, somewhat fascinated by the fact that Rich Paul could flex on LA with THC, with hot dog.
Yeah.
Like, you have to sign a guaranteed deal to my second round pick? I do? It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
And a lot of those, I mean, those weird $10 million deals where he signed a 3-year, $30 million deal, 10-year average, speaking of hot dog, it feels like that day in the NBA is gone. The number of really good players who are having to sign for minimums this offseason was crazy. It's because there was a real lack of cap space. Maybe as every team gets a little bit more money with the TV deal coming in, we will see more bad contracts, but along those lines, Jazz didn't sign any bad contracts here. We were joking about Drew Eubanks' agent being an all-star for getting him $10 million. It was $5 million. And by all accounts, as we talked about last week, Jazz are shopping him today.
Right.
He
He's just
signed
a
his
body.
Deal. He's a $5 million expiring contract, as is Svi Mykhailiuk, who's $3.5 million, and then has 3 non-guaranteed years in a row. That's an expiring deal. So the Jazz can combine those 2 players and have about $8.5–9 million to trade out if they want an expiring.
3 non-guaranteed years?
Every year is non-guaranteed after this year.
Now, that is a bad agent.
That's a forever expiring contract.
That is not a good agent.
I think, let me look it up. I think his agent might be Boris.
No.
I think his agent might be Boris.
No.
Let me look.
Our guy?
I might be wrong. Let's see, Real GM agent.
Listen, you have no potential to make any more money. We're going to make all... Is it Boris? It is. Wow.
Hey, how do you think he got signed?
What a surprise.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. Boris's guy.
Hey, maybe Lowry will take $12 million less if I've got another guy who needs a job. If you want to sign him. What do you think? Svi Mykhailiuk needs a job.
He sure does.
We'll give him 4 years, all non-guaranteed.
I love the NBA. This type of stuff is absolutely my favorite.
And it does happen.
All the time.
I know people don't think it happens.
It happens all the time.
This is very funny.
Boris has a guy.
I've never heard of Boris before. He's probably a legit agent. Don't get me wrong, but
No, I'm sure Oklahoma City signed Max Orgul's other client.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Not a lot. He does not have a lot of players.
And two of them happen to be on the Jazz.
In fact, I think it might be his only two that are currently in the NBA. That's amazing.
Yeah. Boris, you smooth operator.
Yep, he has two players actively in the NBA. And they both play for the Utah Jazz.
They sure do.
What a coincidence.
All right, next.
Number 2, the first AP Top 25 poll just barely came out as we started the show.
Utes, number 12 in the AP poll.
Boris is both his ages clients. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably about right. I mean, they're picked to win the Big 12. In fact, you could probably make an argument they should be higher.
Oklahoma State comes in at number 17. Kansas State comes in at number 18. Arizona comes in at 21. Kansas comes in at 22. So some love for the Big 12.
Yeah, so their top team arguably should be higher.
I think that's fair if you want to make that argument. I totally understand the question marks around the University of Utah.
Well, Notre Dame is going to suck, and they're at 7.
Michigan has some real questions.
I would guess they end up sucking.
Their coach is going to be suspended. They lost their quarterback.
Florida State's going to suck out loud.
They also lost their quarterback, right? Who was
so
hurt
they're going to be moving down. Penn State likely going to suck.
Here's the
knowing nothing about it.
Here's the top 5. Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3.
They're
Oregon
not going to be
only
great.
got one first place vote though. Texas 4, Alabama 5. I'm not believing in Texas going into the SEC and running roughshod over that conference.
Sure aren't.
Sure
aren't, Bob.
So, yeah, there's going to be some leeway. There's going to be some movement.
There's going to be an opportunity to move up. You would think so.
So, oh man, this feels like college football is here. I do love that it felt like the Olympics got out of the way for the NFL preseason. Start getting games going on Sundays, like we saw last night, and or yesterday morning, I should say. And the Olympics is like, well, we can't compete with that. Let's make sure we're off the air when the NFL starts up because they take up all the room when it comes to sports viewership. It's fun to have the NFL back. It's fun to have college football back, and the AP poll feels like that's where we're headed.
Stinkin' Riley coming in at 23.
We will be talking about games less than 2 weeks from now, right?
Odds Stinkin'.
Week 0.
Hey, Odds Stinkin' has a job after this year.
1,000%.
You think?
Chicago Bears offensive coordinator or head coach.
Oh, he's headed to the Bears?
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't get run from USC, but gets
he might get
run by the Bears.
But it'll be the same way. Who's the coach at USC? The basketball coach who went to SMU.
Oh, Enfield?
Who quietly quit, but was pushed out. He's going to quietly quit, but instead of going to Southern Methodist, he's going to go to Chicago.
Do you think Enfield regrets recruiting Bronny James? Do you think that ended up being a good career move for him?
Yeah. There are those, like, this dream person wants to marry me. This celebrity wants to marry me. Got to marry that person. Jason Alexander, not George Costanza. Other Jason Alexander, I have to marry Britney Spears. Or I'm Chris Humphrey. I have to marry Kim Kardashian. You're like, oh, that was it. There was a clear before and after in my life, and that was one of them.
Rough.
Yeah, recruiting Bronny James was a pretty clear before and after for Andy Enfield.
That was a bad idea.
Didn't work for me at all.
All right, what's next?
Number 3, Zach Wilson played well in his Broncos preseason debut.
Buddy, we got a new starter in Denver.
Well, I knew it wasn't going to be that guy Stidham because everybody. Remember, we had.
He did start, right? Stidham
he did,
started,
but he was never going to be the guy because he stinks, and he's always stunk. And everybody thought, well, he was there last year. Well, the whole reason he was there last year is because he stinks. It doesn't cost any money.
Bo Picks was 2 and actually played okay.
Throw Nix, man. He played great.
Throw Picks, my guy. His first 3 passes, I audibly groaned.
Didn't they score on like 4 out of his 5 drives?
I audibly groaned his first 3 passes because they were all over the place. And I just thought, like, oh, man, it's so obvious to tell quickly some of the guys who really have it and some of the guys who don't. And then, to be honest with you, he cleaned it up and he made a great throw to the sidelines. And then it seems like he found his rhythm. He does not have what former BYU and Utah wide receiver coach Guy Holliday would call JU ice juice that Caleb Williams has. Caleb looked pretty special.
Oh, and it comes back to Hard Knocks.
He did, man.
And it comes back to Ben consuming propaganda.
He's got that juice you're looking for. I
Juice.
didn't feel
Give
that.
me a break.
I didn't feel that from Bo Picks.
Oh, you didn't feel it.
But
he
ended up with a much better game.
I'm sorry. Ben didn't feel anything from Bo Nix as he in his first game as a rookie scores on 4. How am I defending the dunk?
But
like, that is ludicrous. And then saying fingernails has the juice. Mark this. Mark that. Let's play it as fingernails has lost his 6th game in a row. But he's got juice. Ben feels. He feels it.
But Zach Wilson was explosive. And I think there's a real chance Zach Wilson's going to play some games for the Broncos. He needed to have a big game. He could not have come out and looked disastrous as the 3rd stringer in Denver. And he looked really good in the game.
Yeah, he's trying to save his career.
Yeah, absolutely. And he might be better than Stidham.
He's where Baker Mayfield was when he signed with the Rams in the middle of the year because they didn't have anybody on the roster.
Flacco and the Browns? Is that most recently what it was last year? And led them, was very good. Yeah.
Did he? Or was he just standing upright on an all-star team?
Yeah, not bad. It's a not terrible way to live. So let's see. Let's see how Zach plays. That was a good start. He needed that. He's got to stack a lot of
It was good.
pieces.
I mean, not Caleb Williams good.
There's no juice.
But
I
I
didn't see
mean,
the
Ben
JUIce
didn't
that I'm looking
feel the juice. So I don't think he's going to make it. I mean, I wouldn't sign him based on that take alone.
So we will see. Excited to watch this Broncos quarterback race. There's nothing to watch in Chicago. Caleb's got it. Caleb has it. It being juice.
It being a roster that traded the former starter so that he would be
By default. The starter.
I get on that train, Ben. Enjoy Hard Knocks. All right, stay tuned. We'll have more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I want to remind you about Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255, Peach Doors and Windows. Also, remind you about Win Ticket Wednesday. Nailed it. I was about 30% sure on that.
You guessed. You guessed right.
Your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win a 4-pack of tickets to catch the Salt Lake Bees in action during the 2024 season. Listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day on Wednesday for your chance to win. Ben, I guess we were talking about the Olympics, talking off the air about the Ayesha Curry situation and Draymond Green, and there was another story from the Olympics. Did you see that? That some moron took off his shirt and climbed the Eiffel Tower.
Okay.
Hours before the closing ceremonies were supposed to begin. He made it like halfway up or something, Ben, before they got him out of there. But they had to evacuate the Eiffel Tower. They had to close down everything around it. It turned into this big to-do.
Yeah.
Now, should he just have been peeled off and left to fall? I think you could make a good argument.
Sniper?
I just think you hit his fingers with the shoe.
Get one guy up there.
Why? Okay. You can't shut down the world because you're an idiot. And if you do shut down the world because you're an idiot, then the punishment should be severe. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely. This was a hassle to clear out that building
on the closed day of the closing ceremonies of the Paris
at that
Olympics.
Moment, arguably the most famous building on the planet.
Because of some idiots, it's got to be a publicity stunt. I'm guessing
Something, yeah.
But you don't get to do that.
I agree.
And you know what? Draymond Green, Ayesha Curry, and apparently Sonia Curry, the road's closed.
Yeah, they were trying to go down a road that is restricted. Nobody can travel on this road.
The president of the country was apparently heading down somewhere in the neighborhood, and they closed the road. Have you ever seen the motorcade for these United States, Ben?
Oh, remember old Joe was in town not that long ago and was parked over by the Monaco.
They closed
the road. Yeah, I remember. I think he was driving on I-80, and I live by I-80, and they closed every underpass along all of I-80 West. So someone doesn't, park a truck underneath an underpass.
All the things.
They close everything. And you just say, yeah, it's the president. Of course. He gets to travel safely.
Listen, ma'am, I know you think you're important.
Correct. Sonia Curry, Ayesha Curry.
I know that you really think you're important.
However,
you're not more important than that guy.
Correct.
So, don't know what to tell you.
In fact, for these 2 weeks, he might be the most important person on the planet. We're just gonna give him some
tensions
space.
Were high. That's the headline. Tensions were high. But why? You say, okay, well, we'll wait for the president to pass, and then we'll go to our car.
Yeah, right. We'll get there.
I'm sorry, Miss Important. I know your husband/son just hit shots in the Olympics.
Sure.
But this is the president of France.
President is coming through.
And you're not. So.
Yeah. The headlines on this story are wrong.
Right.
Heightened tension between Ayesha Curry and the police. It's like, no, Ayesha Curry tries to storm the president of France.
That's what it should be.
That's the headline, yeah.
Can you imagine if you're
down the president.
That poor policeman reading this article? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's not what happened.
That's not, no.
I have to protect the president.
Tensions were high because this entitled lady wouldn't listen to the fact that the, president of the country is driving by.
In fact, I think that's the appropriate amount of tension. The president's here, and I'm the line between you and the president. I get to have the tensions as high as I want.
You're lucky you didn't get the baton.
Correct. Yes. Now, if she'd been pepper sprayed, it would have been
justified.
A bigger headline,
I agree.
but understandable.
So, idiot climbing the Eiffel Tower, not important enough to disrupt life. President of France? Kind of.
Kind of. Block the street off. You don't need to use this street.
Did you see, and far be it from me to ever feel bad for LeBron James, but did you see him stiff arm a fan who's just trying to get a picture? He came off looking like a real unfriendly person.
Uh-huh.
But I do have some sympathy for somebody that can't go anywhere
ever
or do anything ever without all of that.
Tying this whole story together of security doing their job. Didn't Victor Wembanyama's security guard punch Britney Spears?
Yes. Hey, Brit.
This is the most important. This is the second most important person in France. We just decided that. Macron's one. Wemby's two.
Don't be tugging at his shirt,
otherwise,
lady.
We're cracking skulls. Doesn't matter if you're Britney Spears or Ayesha Curry or whoever. There's a line.
You gotta know how famous you are when you're throwing it around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty famous.
Yeah.
I can throw it around. Well, even Serena Williams wasn't famous enough to eat at that one bar in France. Remember that? You got to know where your famous/entitled line is. Ben's, yours is pretty high. You can walk around dressing down a lot of people.
I very easily get into this building every day. Nobody hassles me.
Like, you could probably walk into JB's and yell at the person to sit you down, But if you tried to do that at the Alta Club, it probably would
not work. No, yeah, you got to know your line.
That's what I'm saying.
You got to know your tier.
Exactly. And hope that my wife isn't policing the door.
Poor Miss America.
Because she told Miss America where to go. No pass, no pass. If they would have written a story about that, it would have been like tensions are high with Sundance volunteer.
Yeah.
It wasn't her fault.
She was doing her job.
All right. Stay tuned. What do you think, though? That guy, let him fall? Or get him down and then beat him up?
Let him fall.
Or how about the iron mask thing we were talking about the other day?
Okay, lock them up.
Not, but
Really lock them up.
like iron mask, there's some mental, stuff there. Yeah.
I should have watched that over the weekend. I didn't.
Well, you can't climb the Eiffel Tower, bro.
I'm with you. Even though it looks ripe for climbing.
Can't do it. Not safe for you. And also, nobody knows what you're up to. There's a lot of public safety involved. All right, stay tuned. More next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.